Finally, Link has come back to his channel.
Today's video is starting off a little bit different because today we hit 50 subscribers on the channel. So I looked at who our 50th subscriber was. It was a guy called Scott who I know. So I reached out to him and said, "You're my 50th subscriber. As a little thank you, what video do you want me to make?" He said I should make my top 10 fish video, which I think is a great idea. A couple of people have suggested it already. So we're going to make my top 10 fish. But before we get on to that, I've just got to say another couple of little super quick thank yous. Thank you to everyone that subscribed to get us to 50 subscribers. It's massive. Thanks to everyone that watches the videos because we've now hit about 1,200 views on the channel, which is pretty ridiculous for how quick we've hit it. The next thank you is going out to Rosie and Malcolm. They are my oldest viewers, as they always remind me. I just want to say thank you to them for watching. They sit down, they have a cup of tea, and they watch my videos, see what my opinions and stuff are. I think that is so cool. So cool that someone wants to watch me talk about stuff, especially sitting down with their partner, having a cup of tea and making a thing of it, so that I'm humbled. Thank you for that, guys. Last little thank you before we get into the list is going out to Scott, who suggested this video, and my friend David. I want to thank them for all the help they gave me in keeping fish over the years. I kept fish for many years, and the amount of times I used to ask these guys, "Oh, can you come and help me lift the tank? Can you come and help me empty a tank? Can you come and help me catch a fish because I can't catch it on my own?" So many times these guys come around and help me with stuff, so I want to say a massive thank you to them because they made keeping fish more possible than it would have been without them. That's how I'm going to say it. So, here is the top 10. We're starting off with sharks. There's 440 species of sharks. Sharks are mostly cartilaginous, which means they have cartilage instead of bones. They're not really that easy to keep in aquariums unless you've got a massive budget and a massive tank, which is why I've never personally kept them. The reason the picture a few seconds ago was a hammerhead shark is because that's my favourite shark of all. Out of 440 species, I was spoiled for choice. But I just think the hammerhead shark looks cool, like the great white, I like bassin sharks, whale sharks. I like the variety within the shark species. Always like the little coral cat sharks and things that you can keep in aquariums, but you still need a big, good marine aquarium to maintain them healthily. And because I've never been able to give them the environment they deserve, that's why I've never took the plunge and bought one. Maybe one day. But yeah, so in at number 10, sharks. In at number 9, we have got pufferfish. That picture you just saw was my Fahaka puffer, which comes from Egypt, particularly in the River Nile. There's 120 different species of pufferfish, so again, I was spoiled for choice. I want to tell you a couple of little things that I find interesting about pufferfish is they only blow up when they're scared. A lot of people don't know that. If a pufferfish is healthy, it will be sort of elongated and deflated because they puff up as a defense mechanism when they get scared. So if you see a pufferfish puffed up, it is either unhealthy or it's been frightened by something. So that's worth knowing. The next thing I want to say is that I said there's 120 species of pufferfish. Now 30 of these are purely freshwater, which means they live in rivers predominantly, sometimes lakes, in water that doesn't have any salt in it. Now the other 90 species vary. Some of them are purely saltwater, which means they will live in the sea all the time. Then you get others, which are brackish, which will live in the mouths of rivers, which are between the conditions of a river and the sea because you've got the sea water mixing with the river, so it's got some salt in. And then the sort of final category of pufferfish that you get is you get pufferfish that will live in the city, they'll come up the rivers to breed, similar to like salmon do. So I just thought that was an interesting thing to tell you. Might not be to you, but I find pufferfish fascinating. I think they look cool, and that's why they're in at number 9. At 8, we've got a controversial choice. Number 8 is silver dollars. The picture you've just seen is a picture of the silver dollars are the little silverfish that look similar to piranhas. In the picture you also got Oscars and Frontosas. The Frontosas shouldn't have really been kept with them fish because of the conditions they like, but it was the only situation I had that was safe for it at the time, so it was a rush decision. Just want to explain that before I get 100 comments saying Frontosas shouldn't live with Oscars. But yeah, the silver dollar is going in this list for the reason it is so versatile. There are species which you can put in a community tank with small fish, you can put it in a big tank with massive fish, you can use them as a dither fish, which is a fish that distracts aggressive fish when they breed. Literally so many things that silver dollars are useful for. They're so hardy, they look quite nice, they've got that piranha look which looks kind of cool without the aggression you get from a piranha. So for me, that's why they're in at number 8, just because I love a silver dollar because it can add something to so many different types of tank that other fish cannot, and that is why silver dollars are in at number 8. At 7, we've got piranhas. Now these are piranhas that I actually personally kept. I got rid of them because one day, one of them only had one eye, put my hand in the tank and he bit me. Yeah, literally bit me. There was blood, it wasn't a nice situation. They have got sharp teeth, even the ones that you keep in captivity have got real sharp teeth. So that wasn't fun. But I've always loved piranhas, and I am actually considering keeping them again now. It seems crazy when I've just told you that I got bit by one once, but I am thinking about buying them again and keeping them again because I think they were so cool and they're completely different to a lot of other stuff that I've kept in the past. Now, I'm going to talk to you a couple of little facts about piranha now. The first fact I want to say is that there are hundreds of reported attacks every year on humans. Most of these come from South America, places like Brazil, Ecuador. And it's amazing how few people actually get killed by them, because they hunt in packs. There's hundreds of them. They've been known to kill animals such as cows when they cross rivers because of the sheer volume of them. But in terms of humans, there is no confirmed kill of a human by piranhas since 2012, which was a little 5-year-old girl in Brazil, which is obviously sad. But it is also interesting to know that it's 7 years since a piranha definitely killed someone. So maybe they're not as scary as we think. In at number 6, we have got the Regal Tang. It is also known as a blue tang. Sometimes incorrectly called a hippo tang. A hippo tang is a different type of tang. I don't know why that always happens. You'll most commonly know this fish for being Dory from Finding Nemo. They fascinate me. It's a fish I always wanted to keep. Ever since I saw Finding Nemo, I was obsessed with fish and always wanted to keep them. So it was an honour to keep them. The bigger one in the pictures you saw is actually what is known as a yellow belly Regal Tang. So it is a Regal Tang, but it's got a yellow belly instead of the typical solid blue like most of them have. Another interesting thing with Regal Tangs is you'll find them worldwide because they can live anywhere that there is a coral. If there's a coral reef, they will eat algae on that coral reef. Another thing which a lot of people don't know about Regal Tangs, and a reason why it's important to make sure we upkeep their conservation, is that Regal Tangs eat algae in coral reefs. Now if Regal Tangs disappeared tomorrow and stopped eating that algae, and other species of tangs as well, like your yellow tangs and your vampire tangs, to name some of the exciting ones, Achilles tangs, one I've always wanted to keep. If they stopped eating that algae, there's many species of coral that would die out because they would actually suffocate where they're competing with the algae for oxygen and for nutrients. So I think that's a really interesting thing to speak about, the fact that if tangs disappeared, a species of coral would disappear. And I think a lot of the time when we look at the ocean, we forget about some of the symbiotic relationships that go on and how important they are. Now clownfish, Nemo. You might have noticed in the pictures, one of them clownfish was black, predominantly black with some orange. That is a slightly different species of clownfish called a Clarky clownfish. I got it because I thought it was cool that it was black. Thought it was like metal as anything. It was so cool that it was black instead of being orange. But I have kept, the typical Nemo peculiar clownfish as well. Now I want to talk to you really quickly about the relationship with anemones. There's 30 species of clownfish. All of them host anemones. That's why they're sometimes called anemone fish. Now, they have a symbiotic relationship with anemones. So they live inside the anemone, which is full of like stinging tentacles, a bit like this. And those stinging tentacles protect the clownfish from other predators, other reef fish, things like triggers that might come and attack them. So that's cool. But what the clownfish do in return is they poo on the anemone. Yeah, that's how it works. They poo on the anemone eats the nutrients from the clownfish poo, and that's how the anemone gets his dinner. So it's a symbiotic relationship where one thing works with another, and I just think that's fantastic, and I think it's absolutely awesome. Number 4 is the Oscar. Now this fish is something that a lot of people will have probably seen. Everybody knows someone that's had an Oscar. There's over 1,000 species of South American cichlids, and Oscars are the most commonly kept one of all. The reason is they get big, they're really hardy, so they're quite easy to keep even as a beginner, and they've got such personalities. Every Oscar is different. Like, some Oscars are really happy, some Oscars are really aggressive, some Oscars are a mix of the two, some Oscars will learn tricks, some Oscars are literally you can hand feed them. So that's one of the reasons they're there, is because of that personality. Another reason that Oscars are so high on my list and also so popular in fish keeping is because there is so many colours available. As you can see from the picture that I posted in the numbers, there's so many different colours. You can get albinos, you can get lutinos, you can get tiger Oscars, you can get wild coloured Oscars. The list is endless. There's literally hundreds. You can get Oscars that have been line bred to have different characteristics as well, like veil tails. It's amazing the variety that is available in Oscars now because of how popular they are as an aquarium fish. But they're in at number 4. They're one of the things I've kept the most because of how much I love them. I love the personality of them, and I love American cichlids in general. Number 3 is going to surprise a lot of people that will know me well in the fish communities, because it's a Jaguar cichlid. Now, they're not surprised the Jaguar cichlid is in my top 10. People will be surprised that that fish is not my number 1. It was a difficult decision, the top 3, as we'll see in a second. But the Jaguar cichlid is a fish that I kept many times. They get massive, they're gold, they look beautiful, they've got a cool pattern, they've got a cool name, they're aggressive, they've got great personalities, they're easy to breed. There's so many reasons they're an awesome fish. And it was a really difficult decision to put them in at number 3, as opposed to higher. But I absolutely love Jaguar cichlids. They're South American cichlids again, similar to the Oscar. They're much more aggressive than Oscars, so you do have to be careful if you keep them with other species. My favourite way to keep Jaguars is in a tank with a breeding pair. So you've got a female, which will be smaller, and a male that will be much larger. I think it makes such a cool little tank having, well, not little tank because they're massive, but it makes such a cool tank just having 2 fish in there that can make the tank look busy all the time. I think it's absolutely awesome. They don't hide up too much like some of the big cichlids can do. Like wolffish is quite a close relation that sometimes do that. You know, the wolf cichlids, they'll sometimes sit at the bank and hide about, or maybe other ones like Midas is another cichlid which are known for hiding quite a lot. So yeah, in my opinion, Jaguar cichlid is the best South American cichlid. If you want to keep a South American cichlid, personality, looks, Jaguar cichlid. Number 2 is a difficult one. I've included these as African cichlids in general. The reason I've done that is because in the East African lakes of Malawi, Tanganyika, Lake Victoria, there is over 2,000 species of cichlid. And I've kept well over 100 of them. Now, my favourites, as you saw in the picture, is the William's Eye Blue Lips. It's an absolute favourite of mine. It's a fish I always dreamed of keeping, and I was so happy when I finally did. I love the yellow, and the fact it's got blue lips. Looks like it's got lipstick on in bright blue. It's like some James Charles sort of vibe going on. I absolutely love them. Another one I want to give a shout out to is the Traversy. Now, as you can see, saw the other picture, the one with a round nose. That is a Traversy. That particular one, me and David's family named Gonzo, because he looked like Gonzo from the Muppets, because his nose was so round. Now the reason he's got that round nose is because they actually evolved to have their mouth pointing further down, so it was easier for them to eat algae from the rocks below them, which I think is awesome. As I mentioned in previous videos, I find evolution fascinating, so that's the reason I love that. And yeah, I love African cichlids so much that I even had a birthday cake made for me featuring them, which shows literally how passionate about them I am. They're really easy to keep. It's a really busy tank. They've got great personalities. There's so much variety, so much colour. In my opinion, they're the best colour fish you can get in terms of freshwater fish. Without having a saltwater aquarium and keeping like clownfish and Regal Tangs, I think Malawi is the best coloration you can get. Some people will argue discus, which is a type of South American cichlid, which is very peaceful. But in my opinion, Malawi have much more personality than discus, and they look nicer. Number one is probably unexpected. It might be a fish that some of you haven't even heard of before. It is the Picasso triggerfish. Now, when I first started keeping marine fish, it wasn't a fish I'd even got my eye on, to be honest. It wasn't. I started a marine tank because I wanted to have Nemo and Dory. That is, to be honest, I know it might sound childish, but that was my first goal. I wanted Nemo and Dory. Then I was going to work out what else I was going to get after that. Once I'd had them, I got offered a Picasso triggerfish by a friend who was closing a marine tank, and I was like, okay, yeah, anyone that ever needs a fish looked after, if I've got a tank spare, if I've got a tank it can live in comfortably and peacefully with what I've got, I'll always look after another fish for someone. So I took on this Picasso triggerfish, and I named him Pablo, and I just fell in love with that particular fish. He had the coolest personality, he was friendly, you could feed him with your hand. He was such a cool fish. He was so active, he would zoom around the tank like this, back to front, and he looks cool. I want to tell you another little interesting fact about Picasso triggerfish is that it is the state fish of Hawaii, and in Hawaii they call it the Huma Huma Nuku Nuku Apua'a, which is a really cool name too. So because it's got a cool name, because it looks cool, and because of the personality and how much I enjoyed keeping that fish, that is why the Picasso triggerfish has made #1 on this list. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. If you've enjoyed that, you can click up here and you can watch another video of mine. Or if you really love it, if you really, really love it, or even if you just like it a little bit, go down here and subscribe to the channel. It means you'll never ever miss what is coming up real soon.